It's May 1968. I attend a Doors concert at the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds. It's far out, man. It's the third time that I see the Doors. Jim Morrison's going downhill. Between songs, he sits on the Santa Clara stage with a Jack Daniels bottle by his side. Just 3 years later, Morrison dies in Paris. His reputation for drug and alcohol abuse is permanently sealed. But I remember the Doors well. I can still hear the songs that I played in my dorm room over 50 years ago. Light My Fire, The End, Moonlight Drive. I also remember the Jack Daniels whiskey bottle and my reaction to it. While only 18, I knew that Morrison was in some real trouble. And ultimately, his self-destructive behavior led to his premature death. Death in Paris at the age of 27 sealed his role in rock history. He may have died from a heroin overdose, but there's really no definitive cause of death listed for him. Whatever caused Morrison's end, it stirred rock fans. At death, his net worth was a relatively modest $400,000. Morrison was unmarried. He did have a common law wife named Pamela Courson. Morrison's will left everything to her. Morrison, true to his rock star reputation, was reckless in relationships. Shortly after he died, several women challenged Morrison's will in probate court, claiming that he was the father of their children. And this was long before DNA tests could prove paternity, and it was up to the court to decide if the claims were credible. In 1974, 3 years after Morrison died, a probate court rejected the other claims and recognized Courson as the heir to Morrison's estate. Only a few weeks later, Courson herself died of a heroin overdose. Meanwhile, the 1/4 share of the Doors' royalty income increased dramatically after Morrison's death. And within a couple of years, it became a very significant number. The stakes were really high. By law, because Courson had no children and she herself left no will, Courson's parents inherited her rights to Morrison's estate, which was now worth millions. Not so fast, argued Morrison's parents. Although they were estranged from their son at the time of his death, and they weren't named in his will, they believed that they had as much right to their son's legacy and estate as the parents of his common law wife. You can kind of understand their position. The dispute between the parents lasted for several more years. By 1980, the litigation between the two families was settled out of court with an agreement that each would split the royalties of Morrison's share of the Doors' music catalog, 50-50. And because Morrison and the Doors became much more popular in the years following, the value of that royalty stream is reported to have been more than $80 million. The lessons from all these probate cases are clear. Having an estate plan and creating a will with clear-cut intention helps avoid future potential problems. It's worth noting, of course, that if Jim Morrison and the Doors had faded into obscurity and the value of their intellectual property gone to zero, it's safe to say that no one would have cared and we wouldn't have been talking about it today. But when millions of dollars were suddenly at stake, litigation almost became inevitable. I've handled estate issues for celebrities, and I know that there are a lot better ways to plan for royalties than a simple will. Before you go, please let me know if you'd like to receive a free copy of my first book, The Wolf at the Door, or my new book, Alzheimer's, Widowed Stepmothers, and Estate Crimes. Just send your address and an email to me at hackard@hackardlaw.com, and I'll be glad to put one in the mail. I'm Mike Hackard from Hackard Law. Thanks for watching.